I've been attempting to write stories for years. I usually get bogged down in details, then stop writing altogether. I do have a few successes. To me, this just means finishing a story. After listening to lots of writing advice, the most beneficial so far, for me, was from Stallone. He said something to the effect of, get to the end. As simple as that is, it put my focus in the right place. Since then, I have had a lot more practice and figured out what works for me. Here are 6 things I've been doing to kind of keep me on track and stop me from getting bogged down. Number 1, skip it. When I get stuck on a fight scene or dialogue, I write a note of how I want the scene to go. Like, bad guy dead, main character minor injury. Then I get to go back to writing the story. When I can't skip it, because I don't know what happens next after I figure this scene out, then I have to kind of sit in the scene and ask lots of questions like, why is the character doing this? How does this scene add to the story? Because sometimes the scene is so difficult to figure out because it's irrelevant. So then I just cut the whole thing out. Number 2, create a focus or goal for every writing session. If my goal is to write the scene where my main character and his friends encounter a monster, I try to keep the creation of the monster quick. In my case, I am doing monster mashups, animal mashups. So I pick 2 animals from a list I previously made. Then I know roughly what the character looks like, how big it is, and how it would fight. I still catch myself delving into details, and I have to tell myself this isn't important to the scene right now, and to get back to the story. Sometimes the goal is to make something like the animal list, or add to the list, or work on character development, or world building. But the important part is to have a goal for each time I sit down. Number 3, character core beliefs. Creating characters can get lengthy. I've tried using the 16 personality tests, but even with all the characteristics, I still don't get a good sense of who the character is. It's kind of too close to astrology signs. The descriptions may sound personal at the moment, but most people can apply it to themselves. I watched a video by BookFox that I linked in the description. He talks about how we are building characters backwards, which I thought was really interesting, because usually the idea for a character is very visual. And he talks about starting with their core beliefs. And from my understanding, core beliefs are formed from major events and oftentimes your parents' beliefs. So I start by listing major events of their life, and from there I can usually extrapolate what kind of person they are. But if that's still not enough, then I write a short story of a difficult day in their life, like bad day at the bar, tricky criminal to catch, or rodents invading their garden. And then with that, how people respond to difficult situations tells us a lot about them. So then I can tell what kind of person they are, and then go back to the story and go, I know how they will respond in this situation. Number 4, make the story shorter. Instead of writing the whole epic novel, I write a part of it to a conclusion. Like, the knight fights the wizard and barely escapes with his life. That could be the end of part 1. Instead of the absolute end being the goal, I focus on getting the main character to their next goal. As long as something is gained and concluded, a part is done. Then I get a boost of satisfaction. It's a lot like those productivity gurus who say something like, turn a large, long-term goal into bite-sized pieces. It does work. Then you can enjoy every little win, and it helps me stave off the overwhelm and keeps me on track for the big win, as they say. Number 5, world building off the story. When I was writing in world building before, the story almost always turned into a political drama instead of the fun fantasy action that I wanted it to be. I kept getting sucked into building the political hierarchy because it seemed important. But it's really not to the story that I want to tell. I love those classic 80s, 90s action movies where it's mostly just about getting to the point, defeating the bad guy, rescuing the lady, like Princess Bride. It's great. And I recently saw Commando, and I can't believe I hadn't seen it before. In there, there's very little information about government or what he did on his missions. We learn all we need to know from short lines of dialogue. And there's no need to get into the branches of government or all the problems that he probably caused by killing and blowing things up. So now, when I'm writing my story, I only world build where it is needed. I try to keep it quick, and this way it's easy to see where I get, start going down a rabbit hole. Because it's really easy to sit down and to start writing and then be like, oh, I need to figure out this part of the religion, and then get way into it. And then you're like, oh, well, I'm out of time now. And then hardly made any progress on the actual story. Number 6, slow down world building. Letting most of the world organically appear has helped me keep the feeling that I want. Slowing down world building may sound counterintuitive when we're trying to finish the story, because it seems like I should have the whole world finished and I should know it all before writing the story. But I'm trying to do that kind of like hollow iceberg thing where, just like in our world, we don't know everything that's going on. And because it's not relevant to what we're doing at the moment, it doesn't really matter. So I'm trying to let the world be kind of empty at the moment. Focus on finishing the story and slowly filling out the world over time. But there are times when I need to figure some part out to continue the story. Like there's a big section of the world that I don't understand. So that's when I dedicate my writing time to world building. But I make sure to limit it to that one part, like city structure. Focusing on getting the story done is really great, but it can kind of lead to burnout because it's just go, 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 go. So sometimes I'll take a bit of a break, but I'll still be working on the story, and this is where doing the stamp comes in. Or maybe working on some fairy tales or lore, just kind of a short story that's in the world that can help develop the world over time. In this case, with the stamp, I was thinking about landmarks, which are often on stamps, and the stone popped in my head. In my world, wizards are like scientists. So they kind of tinker and develop, and there are ones that just follow what other people have figured out before them, and then there are ones that figure it out on their own, and then they're more chaotic and explode, and sometimes things don't go the way they want. So the stone got me thinking about how they documented their spells before paper existed, and how maybe somebody could come across this stone and learn something that had been lost for centuries. I haven't used any of these ideas, but I really like having lots of little ideas waiting on the side. And then it's kind of like growing a little garden of ideas to harvest from later. So then when I am writing the story and I reach a part, I'm like, oh, this thing that I thought of can fit perfectly here. I think we all want to have one of those really rich worlds like Tolkien had, but without spending the decades that he did. So I've been trying, everything I listed, and so if I just focus on following the character and letting the world unveil itself, and then maybe taking a little bit every now and then to dive in, I think that is so far working a lot better for me. And I want you guys to write down below if you have anything that you've discovered that helps you keep writing the story and not get bogged down and, burned out. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best on your writing, whether it's for comics or written stories.